What's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about my top 10 favorite slasher movies of all time. Now, to be completely honest here, I got this idea from Sully Streams. Please go subscribe to him. I'll leave all his links and stuff down in the description below, and you can go watch his video after you watch this one. He did this video. I'm sure he's maybe not the first person to come up with this idea. It was a really good idea. His was the first video I seen. I'm a huge horror fan. I absolutely love and adore slasher movies. Most of my channel is even mainly slashers and horror stuff, so I wanted to come on here and to wrap up my first October since starting this channel. I thought this would be a really cool idea to do, so strap in. Let me know your list down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button if you are new here. If you're not new here and you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Come on, subscribe. It's fun time over here. I have plenty of stuff like this all over my channel, so you can go check that out after this video. Coming in at my number 10 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. Now, this is arguably most people's favorite of the Friday the 13th franchise, and this franchise is one that I grew up with. Now, there are a couple movies here and there that I didn't grow up with that I watched later as an adult, and some didn't really stick or land, and there's a couple that I watched as a teenager, and this was one that I actually watched as a teenager. My dad really didn't have this one laying around. I can definitely see why this would be in most people's top of that franchise, maybe even their favorite, but there are a couple more that I think do it a little bit better. This one is a little bit bland. This one could use a little salt, but I really do enjoy what this movie has to offer. I think this is one of the better Jasons in the entire franchise. I really do like the character of Tommy Jarvis, but I actually honestly do prefer the younger Tommy Jarvis. And my number 9 is going to be Scream. This movie is an obvious classic for a reason. It's the second icon created by Wes Craven. You would definitely see his first one way higher in my list. And this one is, if there ever probably was a perfect slasher film to come out after John Carpenter's Halloween, it would probably be this one. Now, that's more of on a objective level, I guess I would say. This is what also made Wes Craven, for sure, not only because of what he did for Nightmare on Elm Street, but because of the fact that at the time, he was like the only director, I believe, to create 2 horror icons. Also, not to mention that every single slasher and a lot of horror films that came out after Scream tried to implement and catch that lightning in the bottle that this movie caught. Admittedly, I do have a little nostalgia with it, but not a whole lot. It's not as deep rooted as a lot of my nostalgia for even films higher and the one below it. It's not one that my dad threw on a whole lot, and it's not one that I even throw on a whole lot. However, I actually do really love this film. If it wasn't for rewatchability and the fact that the ones that are higher than this, I watched them just a little bit more than this one, and I have a little bit more nostalgia with those. This one would probably be a little higher. But I really do love Ghostface as a concept and as a killer. Also, I really loved probably the most badass final girl we've ever had in a franchise come from this, being Sidney Prescott. My number 8 is going to be Child's Play 2. This one was the first Child's Play film I ever watched, probably in the same day I watched Child's Play 1. But I was like 6 years old watching this one. It is the most popular pick for the best or the favorite of the Child's Play franchise. I would not argue with anyone who does put it as their favorite or the best or whatever it is. And to me, this one just does what Child's Play 1 does. This one does it a little bit better. This one has a little bit more to offer. I have so much nostalgia for it. I will always and forever have so much love for this one. Chucky is one of my favorites of all time, and for good reason. Chucky is also a pretty consistent franchise along with Scream. I really love the characters, especially with Andy rolling over from the first film into this one, and then you get the great character that is of Kyle, and of course the amazing, awesome third act of Chucky chasing Kyle and Andy through the toy factory. It really doesn't get a whole lot better than that in the Chucky franchise, but there is just one more that I just have more fun with. Coming in at my number 7 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 4. This is my favorite one out of the first 8 films. This one has an incredible Jason in my opinion. Most people actually pick, I'm pretty sure Part 6 to be their favorite Jason. Actually, Part 7 is my favorite Jason out of the first 8. This one would be my second favorite version of Jason that we get. He's definitely one of the more brutal versions of Jason that we get out of the first 8. Also, speaking of favorites, this is also my favorite version of Tommy Jarvis, played by Corey Feldman. The reaction that he gives, the giddiness and the awkward feeling that he gets watching his neighbor getting undressed through his bedroom window, I thought was some of the most natural reactions that I would have definitely done had I been his age. What is he, like maybe 9 or 10 in this movie? So I love that part. I love Jason. I do really like the kills here. This one is one of the more clean versions, I guess you could say. It kind of takes the Friday the 13th formula and flips it a little bit. There's not, you know, even though Corey Feldman's character, Tommy, watches a girl get undressed, you don't see anything. So there's no nudity, there's hardly any bad language. It's a very easy movie to watch and to digest. I wouldn't argue with anybody who says that they put part 6 above this one at all. Coming in at my number 6, please spare me. My number 6 is going to be John Carpenter's 1978 Halloween. This movie is an obvious classic for a reason. Keep in mind, I watched this movie for the very first time about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Honestly, I really don't remember. I've watched it a couple times since then. I haven't watched it in this month of October yet, surprisingly, but I've watched it a couple times since, and I think the first time I watched it, I thought it was a brilliant film. I still think that. I still think it's great. But the flaws definitely showed in my second viewing. And I think that this movie is a tad bit overrated. No. Wait. I don't think it is a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination.
Fuck, motherfucker! Oh, God, please, no!
What I do think is perfect is John Carpenter's score. The score that he came up with in this film is classic, iconic, and timeless. You can't deny what this movie has done for the genre. You can't deny what this movie's done in like pop culture. How we are still getting Halloween films. We haven't in a couple of years, but no doubt that would definitely be picking that up again. We have since gotten maybe 13 entries in this franchise, I believe. And out of all of those movies that this movie has created, plus not to mention every single probably slasher and most horror films that have come out, they were all kind of inspired by Halloween. Halloween is held as a classic for a reason, and I absolutely love the simplicity behind the idea of Michael Myers, and he's the shape, he's in the shadows, he doesn't run, but he will literally get you in a blink of an eye. You never know where he's at. You can try to kill him, he's not going down. I love that about a character. I think where this franchise really messed up is trying to give him a motive and give him reasons, and the whole sibling thing I think is stupid. For what this movie's done, for the genre, for what John Carpenter created, I really do love it. I seriously do. Again, I do think it is a tad overrated. It's not the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I really think the toxic fandom of this franchise, especially this first film, has kind of watered down the taste of it a little bit. But nonetheless, that's why it is my number 6. Coming in at my number 5, you can call this a horror comedy, whatever the hell you want to call it. I call it a horror film. But it is also definitely a slasher, and that is going to be Idle Hands. Idle Hands is one of the best movies I think has ever been made. One of my favorite movies ever made. I will say that. There's so much here to love. The score, the acting. Of course, you get the acting by Devon Sawa, who he is so great with being able to play, his character and then his hand being a totally separate thing. Kind of like Jim Carrey in Liar Liar when he can't tell a lie and he's trying to get the hand right with the blue ink. Devon Sawa does that for like almost a first quarter of this movie, and then he's running around like his hand is a chicken with its head cut off. It's honestly amazing what he does with that character and what he does with the premise of this film. Then you get, of course, like the comedy duo with Seth Green and Eldon Hansen. Also, this movie scared me a little bit with its opener. Whenever I was little, first watching this movie, you get the parents in the bed, and then the writing on the ceiling. And I cannot forget about the dance where you get the band covering the Ramones playing "Wanna Be Sedated." That song has lived rent free in my head since I was as young as I can even remember watching this movie for the first time. And last but not least for this movie, it is one of the most endlessly rewatchable movies I think I've ever seen. This and Friday, I will forever say that these two movies are just absolutely endlessly rewatchable, and I love them, and I love this film. That is why it is my number 5. Coming in at my number 4 is going to be probably my hottest take, depending on how big of a Halloween fan you are. Child's Play 3. I think this is one of the most misunderstood and overly hated films ever, despite slashers and horrors, definitely in slasher, but I can compare this to any genre, and it's definitely one of the most hated films ever for very little to understandable reasons. There's hardly none. I really do love what this movie has to offer. I've always loved what this movie had to offer. I watched this one for the first time when I was probably 8 to 10 years old, somewhere in that age, around the time Insidious came out. Actually, believe it or not, it was because I watched this movie for the first time right after watching Insidious for the first time. I don't know. I don't know why. It was one of the craziest double features I've ever had. I've had some crazy ones. We should talk about that in another video, but for this one, yeah, it's definitely one of the most hated, and I absolutely loved it as a kid watching it for the first time. I think that this is probably one of the most, if not the meanest, Chucky that we get in the entire franchise. He literally makes kids kill each other by swapping, paintballs with bullets and kills kids. You get the best one-liners from Chucky, I believe, in this film with Presto, strangulation, circulation line. You get some great kills. There's also something to say about the story here about, the kids going against each other and then coming together trying to defeat Chucky, which also gives me my last point, being that this has my favorite third act of the entire Chucky Child's Play franchise and my favorite Chucky death. I really do love this film. Ken Sledge, I know you're standing with me, bro.
Someone's talking about Child's Play 3. I love Child's Play 3.
Coming in at my number 3 is going to be the first icon that I mentioned with Scream, created by Wes Craven, being Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie literally created an entire production company that we all know and love today that expanded way beyond horror, New Line Cinema. And it created my favorite horror icon ever, clearly. I absolutely adore this movie. I loved the practical effects this movie has, anywhere from the blood to the spinning room, the cast in this movie. You got like a really young, actually, believe it or not, I think this is the first Johnny Depp feature film role that he's ever been in. Also, you have like Heather Langenkamp in here playing Nancy as our final girl, who in this one, She does kind of like my argument with Laurie Strode being a final girl, being that in their first films they do run away. They're they kind of just survive. But Nancy, a little more than Laurie, does put up a fight, and so I really do love that. I love the Freddy that we get here, how dark and like maniacal and just sinister he is. The choices made by Robert Englund. I loved everything about it except for the last 5 minutes. And that is honestly what keeps it in like my number 3. The blow up doll in that damn car can just rot in hell with Freddy. Yeah, I absolutely love Robert's performance in this. What Robert's done with Freddy after part 3, I could not care less. I don't even acknowledge those films half the time. Even part 4. 1, 2, and 3 I actually do have a really good time with. I absolutely love 1 and 3. And this one is just, it's one of my favorites. It's always been one of my favorites. I grew up with this one, watching it all the time. Me and my cousin constantly had this on repeat. I don't know how we didn't like break the DVD while watching this one. Coming in at my number 2, and this one is also in the conversation for one of the most overly hated films, being Friday the 13th 2009 remake. I absolutely love this film. It is my favorite Jason Voorhees that we ever get. This one, growing up, I probably did actually rewatch this one the absolute most. It does have my favorite opening to any slasher ever made, with you get like a solid 10-15 minutes getting to know a little bit about this group of characters going camping, and then all that just kind of gets cuts to his knees. It has a pretty nice twist to it. I like what they were doing leading to the end. The end really is the only thing I don't like about this movie, with the kind of classic thing with, they're dead. Oh, no, they're not. They're not dead. But also, again, it only like maybe 2 more movies in this whole entire list. This one has a decent group of characters that I actually really like, especially the character played by Jared Padalecki, him looking for his sister. This movie kind of blends the best of maybe the first 4 films, maybe in the first 6 films of the Friday the 13th franchise. It literally takes all the better components of those and combines them into one. You get a really brutal and gnarly Jason in this one, and I love Danielle Panabaker, and there is a fantastic soundtrack to this movie and a really good score. Yeah, this movie is way overly hated. And also all the excuses I've heard for people who don't like the film. I absolutely love this one. Call it nostalgia, call it whatever you want. I think it is a wonderful slasher movie. But coming in at my number 1 is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. Everything in this movie is perfection. And everyone's, you ever had a movie that you felt like was made for you? Well, this one feels like it was made for me. It felt like they were like, okay, there's gonna be a kid, Hayden, and when he's born years from now, a couple decades even, we're making this one for him. Everything in this movie I absolutely love. I literally have no negatives, no notes. This movie is fantastic. fantastic. And this would be one that I would give to somebody if they were to ask me, hey, what's a gateway slasher film? Friday the 13th Final Chapter and Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. You also want to know what's great about these movies? It may reward the watching experience of watching the previous films, but you don't have to at all. Continuity is nothing in these franchises for the most part. To me, this has the most perfect blend of Freddy, where you get some really funny and great one-liners like "Welcome to Prime Time, bitch." Also, you get a really mean and dark Freddy in this one. Now, part 2 probably has the darkest version of Freddy maybe, but this one does the best blend. It has the best of both worlds from what you get after this movie and what you get before it. And it also has the best group of characters I've ever seen in any slasher movie ever. I freaking love Kincaid, dude. He is so badass. I love every single one of these characters. Joey. And of course you have Nancy. You have this group of teens who are all battling Freddy in their dreams and are being haunted by him. And they feel so alone. They're in this support group, but I also feel like they can't really explain themselves to each other. Also, Lawrence Fishburne, who's great in this too. But yeah, they're all put in this kind of loony bin that they can't, they feel like they can't truly express themselves without almost consequences. They're in a place that they're supposed to be getting fixed. But anytime they go to express how what's actually going on and go to even touch on these dreams they're having, they kind of get punished for it or get pushed to the side like, hey, they're crazy, give them that shot and put them to sleep. And then you have Nancy coming in, and she's finally someone that knows exactly what these kids are going through. And she helps these kids kind of form into a team. And they go to their dreams and they're able to actually start controlling their dreams. And they give you, they end up having powers and they band together like the freaking Freddy Avengers, dude. And they start fighting them and everything about this movie. Every single thing. Like I said earlier, no notes. Great. Fantastic. I even love the way it ends. The way this movie ends is perfect. It is a perfect ending for this franchise. It is the only one in this entire franchise that actually gets the ending right. Like I said earlier, the first one doesn't even get the ending right. This one gets the ending right. And how they screwed up leaving this one, I have no idea. I can go on and on and on about this movie. I get so pumped talking about it. I would like to hear all of your lists down in the comments below, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this video. Once again, I got this idea from Sully Streams, so please check my description, go subscribe to him, and go watch his video right now. It is an awesome video. He has a lot more popular takes than I do, but that's the fun of all this. We're all different. We all can sit down and watch the same exact movie and literally walk away with completely different things. That's the fun of these conversations. I'd love to talk about it with you guys down in the comments. If you would like to see more videos like these, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on your notification bell, that way you don't miss any of my posts. I really enjoyed making this video. This one was really fun. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around with me. You can follow me on all of my social medias. They'll all be linked down in the description below. I hope you enjoy watching this video just as much as I enjoy making it for you, and I'll see y'all next time.